Allow me to provide some reflections on week 2. There were some really great responses. I appreciate you all for taking the time to do the discussion. I know it's kind of a part of the course and you didn't do it just because you wanted to, but I appreciate that you did it and the effort that you put into them. I want to talk about a few things as we get ready for the signature assignment. I'm really interested in a lot of that value and perspective, that authenticity and that candidness that comes from the discussions to be included in the paper, as opposed to having these kind of generic, I'm a social worker, I will help people, and I will be culturally competent kind of papers. So to get you there, there are a few conceptions that I want to present in a quick, concise way, and you can expand on those, explore those in different areas. The first of those is stepping into cultural humility. So there's cultural competence, and then the expanded view of that you'll hear more about in the future is cultural humility. And that's actually the state of the literature right now. There are other conceptions beyond that, and that's what I want to talk about. One of those being the concept that I created, which is called perception of self in environment reality, POSER, really, perception of self in environment. And the idea there in the context of cultural competence or cultural humility is the question of your perception versus your exercise of identity. And those will be really important constructs. How do you perceive and then make choices about your behaviors, and how do you define then, create meaning and create reality? And how do you exercise that in that space? The second topic that I think is important that some of you have alluded to is the idea of empowerment. And I remember in my MSW program, one of my professors thought it was really critical that we improve service to clients. And that idea has moved on, not just from looking at improving service, but expanding options. And recognize that you can't always expand options for people. You can give them 12 options, but they only see 4 as viable. And the reason for that is because of different reasons, but trauma limits their experience and feeling that they can latch on to certain options. And so empowerment is really about responding to the trauma, the adverse childhood experiences, the conceptions, the meaning, the perceptions and distortions that the person may have, in order to help them to see the options as viable and attainable. So that's an important piece, empowerment. The third piece for this week is belonging. A lot of you missed your opportunity to talk about your cultural identity in the context of where you belong and who you belong with. And that brings up a few different interesting conceptions, because the question of your individual identity is critically important in the context of others. And so your self-awareness becomes important. I just finished a book, well, actually it was December of last year, on that whole self-image kind of question. And so you'll want to explore really, who am I as an individual without a connection to a group. The second piece of that belonging is group identity versus individual identity in particular. So having a definition of both of those. And then finally, this idea of an enduring sense of self in the context of self-image, and recognizing that you can have that enduring sense, which is kind of who I am and nobody can tell me anything differently, but you can also allow for change and embrace change, and evolution is the term that I use typically in that space. So live well, do well, have a great week, and we'll engage further at another date. Bye.